Hello, everyone, and welcome to the college football edition of Proline. It's Week 6. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas, joined by Vegas handicappers Jeff Sod and Sean Hess. Going to take a look at 3 games for the weekend. And first, we'll tell you what we have going on for the weekend. Jim Feist on a terrific run with overall college football plays, 33-21. He's also 17-8 in the NFL. He's got another game of the year going this weekend, a perfect 3-0 in the NFL. And Jeff Sod, who runs Las Vegas Sports Services, you hit another blockbuster.
Go, Jeff!
Red hot weekend since Thursday, 9-2-1, and that blockbuster play is on a 30-12 run after you had the underdog Giants. Didn't need the points on Sunday.
Yeah, I started out Thursday with Cincinnati. Friday had South Florida. Saturday I had Houston, Boise State, Arkansas, UNLV. It's the first time I've taken UNLV for a long time.
Daring man.
It was probably because I talked you into it.
Yeah. And my only loss was UCLA, which for some reason every year, as I said in the last week's show, every year about this time they lose the game they should win. But that was my only loss. And
13-point home favorite and get smacked.
Yeah. And then Sunday I was 3-1, including another relatively easy blockbuster win with the Giants. So everything's going great here at LVSS. So I'm going to give you 7 days of NFL and college football for only $19, and that will include the blockbuster, which is an easy 3-0 over the last 3 weeks. So just call the number on your screen, get 7 days, $19, NFL, college football from LVSS.
All right,
What, you think the Giants did everything they could to steal the game from you? I mean, what is with the fourth quarter thing? You know?
That's what we're going to talk about. So just every week we see these coaching decisions that just make absolutely no sense, and it just drives you crazy. But luckily, I was still able to pull that game out.
Well, let's get into that before we get into the 3 games. If you want to get that special from Jeff, 1-855-846-7426. And let's start before we get into the games with the dumbest coaching decisions of the weekend. Jeff,
How much time do we have? I mean,
no, everybody picks one. Jeff, what was the one you were going to?
Well, the Giants up by double digits. They're in Buffalo territory late in the game, and they throw a pass, and of course it gets
no excuse for that.
It just makes no sense. Especially, I thought they would learn their lesson after game 1 against Dallas and game 2 again. I mean, they just try to throw these games in the fourth quarter. Luckily, they had a big enough lead and didn't hurt them. But sometimes you just have to scratch your head at these decisions.
Yeah, and you know the Monday Night Football game. I mean,
Sunday night.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Sunday night. How do you let them score an 80-yard touchdown in overtime? How many guys had 3 and 3.5 points? You're thinking somebody might win this by a field goal. And Breeze, who's got the arm strength of maybe Sean Hess, right? I never was the strongest throwing quarterback in the world. That shoulder's still bothering him. And they let that guy go 80 yards for a touchdown and win it 26-20 and cover the number. So I'm not a Rob Ryan fan anyway, but I don't understand how you let that happen against a quarterback who can't throw the football. So.
Well, one of the
and that's, there's a long list of bad coaching decisions, but that one, for some reason, really stood out to me. So
that's right. Yeah, one of the worst ones I saw for the weekend was in college football. It was the big showdown between Georgia and Alabama. Georgia dominated the field position battle in that first quarter, exactly what you want in a marquee game. But they didn't do anything with it, and I blame the offensive coordinator, the first-year offensive coordinator. Brian Chotney. The play calling was terrible. It was run on 1st and 2nd down. Next thing you know, it's 3rd and 8, and then they pass, and the kid who was passing at the nickel coverage. Looked like a deer in the headlights. And then next thing you know, Alabama finally, near the end of the first quarter, started to get help with their field position, and they just ran all over Georgia for that big lead. In the end, I don't think it would have made a difference because it was Georgia's day, but I thought that was a terrible wasted opportunity by the home team, Georgia, with some very ultra-conservative play calling early on.
How about the weather? I mean, how about the weather?
How about everything?
Well, I mean, none of these games got canceled. I mean, in South Carolina and Georgia, and it was a downpour. These games were played in downpours. Wow.
It certainly was. All right, let's start off with the SEC for the weekend. Our game we're going to look at is Georgia playing on the road now at Tennessee. This Volunteer team, everybody was coming back for the most part. It was a bowl team last year for Butch Jones. A lot of talent, therefore hopes were high. And yet here they are, 2-3 straight up and against the spread. Not quite a lot has gone right in these close games. They could have a better record, but they come off, they had the game against Oklahoma at home where they were in command into the fourth quarter, ended up losing in the extra frames, and then the loss to Florida was a late collapse, 28-27, and then at home against Arkansas last Saturday, another favorite. They gave up 494 yards, lost the game 24-20. So, Sean, this Tennessee team, are they overrated or simply unlucky?
Well, I tell you, let's just talk about this whole thing. First of all, this is a 3:30. This game goes at 3:30 Saturday afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and Tennessee's at home. getting 3 from Georgia. And the first sentence I got on this game is, what happened last week to Georgia? Wow. I mean, both of these teams are in the Eastern Divisions and in the Southeast Conference, so it's important. Georgia coming off a 38-10, really whoop at home by Alabama, and it was over early, even though Georgia looked good as far as the stats go. They just couldn't, they couldn't get in the end zone. They were down 24-3 at the half, and then, Bama just coasted in a literal downpour. Georgia, 4-1 straight up, but the all-important number here in Vegas, and by the way, it's nasty weather out here in Las Vegas. I think that hurricane may be coming this way. It's a bad hair day. The humidity's up, and it's a downpour out there.
Right.
But out of those 5 games, I mean, Georgia's just 1-3 against a number. They've won their last 5 straight against Tennessee, but they won barely last year, 35-32 as a home favorite of 17, so it wasn't any blowout. Georgia plays Missouri at home next week. Here's Tennessee, 2-3 straight up and against the number, but 0-2 in conference play, and they just lost straight up at home to Arkansas. I think we mentioned this as a home favorite of 6.5, 24-20. Tennessee has a bye next week, and then they travel to Alabama. They're not going to win that game. They're going to be double digits on the road. If they're going to do anything at all, this is kind of reminds me a little bit of the Florida-Mississippi game last week, where I actually had a lean toward Ole Miss, and they just got smacked from the beginning. But if Tennessee's going to step up and win a game anywhere at all, they're at home, they're getting a few points, you wonder about that Georgia mentality after that whooping that got put on them, especially near the end of the second and a half. I'm going to lean toward Tennessee in this game, Jeff. I just think if there's a game that they're going to have to, because down the road they're not going to win too many more games. So they got the cocktail thing to go, near the end of the month. I would lean toward Tennessee in this game, but it's not a big play for me.
The cocktail thing, I like that.
Well, Georgia and who is
the biggest cocktail party.
But, in Jacksonville, they play.
Right.
They'll be drinking at that.
Yeah, they'll be a little drunk down there. Hopefully the hurricane will be gone.
Yeah, I'll take a slight lean toward Tennessee too, just because they're getting a few points here, and they're losing close games. But I know it was terrible weather last week, and Alabama has a great defense, but there was no excuse for that horrific showing by the Volunteers. Nick Chubb. By Georgia. Nick Chubb ran for 146 yards. We thought going in that Georgia would have the quarterback advantage, but Grayson Lambert and Bryce Ramsey combined for 11 out of 30 with 3 interceptions. The total passing yards for the game was 106, no TDs, and 3 interceptions. I didn't see that one coming, but that's why it's hard to go with Georgia this week. I know it's kind of hard to improve on that in 1 week's time. Tennessee has lost 3 out of the last 4. They could have won all 3 games. Bush Jones is getting a pretty bad reputation here with game management and clock management too. He keeps losing these close games sometimes with as we talked about before, so these bad coaching decisions down the stretch. Last 2 years, Volunteers have been double-digit dogs in this matchup and lost by a field goal both times. So. We see 2 teams. Tennessee at least keeping it close. Georgia looked awful last week. And I'll take a slight lean with Tennessee there, John.
All right, well, this Georgia offense, Grayson Lambert has pretty good numbers, the quarterback for the season, 7 touchdowns and 1 interceptions. But as you guys mentioned, boy, did he look lost against that great Alabama defense last week. With that said, you know that they're going to bounce back offensively, because this Tennessee defense has some question marks. Georgia was just 3 of 17 on 3rd down against Bama. Nothing went right last week. You look at last year's game against the Volunteers, Georgia had 289 yards rushing. Got to believe they're going to have a balanced offense, something they didn't have on Saturday against the Tide. They will be able to run the football with Chubb against this Tennessee defense. And that game was a 35-32 shootout. A lot of points. Justin Worley, the quarterback for Tennessee, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 264 yards. Do have some concerns with this Tennessee offensive line. The skill positions are very good on this team. They're capable of scoring. But this defense, they gave up 494 yards to Arkansas last week. And the offensive line, which was a major problem a year ago with 43 sacks allowed, they've already given up 10 this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia unleashes the blitz. So I can't look at the side in this game, but I do think the offenses are going to get back on track this week. So I'll be looking for a high-scoring game. Georgia 9-4 over the total in SEC play, part of a 22-10 run over the total overall. All right, let's take a look at a couple of Big 12 games for the weekend. Before we get that, if you want to get free plays on a recorded message, just check out the website, jimwins.com. You can get them via text or via recorded message.